Guard the gates of your mind. My name is Candice McMillian, and I'm an intuitive counselor. And I'm here to talk today about how the mind is related to the spirit and the metaphysical science of human consciousness, right? And so you and I both know that the mind or the brain is the original computer, the OG computer, right? That's why there's been so many studies done on the brain, so many experiments done on the brain, because folks have been wanting to know how this amazing thing works since the beginning of time, right? And so the computers, they're fashioned after our brains, but the original computer is the brain, and the brain is still a computer, right? It literally takes an instruction. This is what a computer does. This is what the brain does. It takes an instruction, right? It takes a suggestion. It takes a program, and it instructs it passes it on to the body to then implement it in the form of action, right? It also has an interesting quality to it. It's not just action, but it informs the aura, our auric field, right? It places those instructions as well in that energy, in that auric energy, and attracts different experiences to us as well. And so if the mind is a computer and it takes in instruction, it takes in programs, who is it taking instruction and programming from, right? Now, the subconscious mind or the submind, that's the part of our brain that literally is like a sponge, right? Hears, sees everything, even the stuff that the conscious mind is not picking up. The conscious mind simply just filters through what's important, right? And then makes a deduction based on that. But the subconscious mind, that is the mind that is very powerful and also very easily influenced, right? Fortunately and unfortunately. And so our minds form our behavior and actions, and I'm going to get into that. But our spirit has special codes that are downloaded to the mind to be implemented based on our spiritual contract, right? So our spirit is actually what's supposed to be, and what is designed to be our kind of North Star. It has, in terms of hierarchy, it has precedence over the mind. It is supposed to be the ruler of the mind, and of course the body, right? And our spirit holds the spiritual contract that we signed before we incarnated here on earth, based on what we're here to do. And so what has happened is that with the spirit being the original and rightful master and programmer of the mind, that situation has been hijacked a little bit, or a lot of it, based on societal programming, societal indoctrination, which includes media, which includes education, which includes institutions, right, of society, which includes organized religion, which includes family and culture, right, and upbringing, environment. All of these things have they're an arm, or they're part of the arm of societal indoctrination, of societal programming. And so what this societal engineering or programming has done is it's attempted to, and quite successfully in a lot of cases, remove the spirit from the throne right, of our consciousness and placed itself instead, right? And so in our day-to-day, what our mind is thinking about oftentimes is that societal contract rather than that spiritual contract. What do we need to do to survive in society? What do we need to do to fit in society? What we need to do in order to be respected in society? What we need to do in order to be accepted, to be praised, to all these things that are human wants and needs, right? And we base it off of what society has told us, whether subliminally or outright. And so this is what causes there to be a severance or a disconnection or detachment of our spiritual being and our human body. And we disassociate from life, right? Because there is such an internal tension and is like a lack of peace, a lack of inner peace when the spirit, the mind, and the body are not in alignment, right? You can have so many problems, so many things going on outside, right? And of course it's uncomfortable, right? Not great to deal with. But if this is not in alignment, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter how comfortable you set up your life. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how good you look, what car you drive, right? What great relationships you have. It doesn't matter if this inner alignment is not there, if this inner peace is not there, if your spirit, mind, and body are not in alignment in terms of carrying out the spiritual contract, the purpose that you agree to before incarnating here. There's going to be so much tension, right? When you sit alone at home by yourself, without looking at the phone, without looking at the computer, without looking at the TV, with no one around. It's like most people can't do it. Most people can't do it. Like I was talking to someone the other day, and I was talking about how sometimes I notice this thing where I had to practice just being with myself, right? Like, and not picking up the phone to text somebody or look on socials, or not like going to go do some errand or looking at something to numb myself, right, from being with myself. Like, there is, if you notice, this is for a lot of people, may not be true for you, but if you find this, write in the comments your experience, right? When you try to sit with yourself and meditate, or just be in a meditative state, or just be with yourself, sometimes how difficult that can actually be, right? And count the amount of things that we do on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis to escape life, right? You know, folks come home, some of us need to go get a little drink. Like, have you ever asked yourself, why do I need the drink? Like, you know, not that there's anything wrong with it. I ain't judging nobody, okay? But why do I need it? Like, can I sit without it? Why do I need that snack and I'm not hungry, right? Why am I scrolling through TikTok and because I'm bored, and there's actually something I could be doing, but instead of just sitting with myself, why am I scrolling through TikTok, right? And not that there's anything wrong with that, but these are some things that we do to kind of disassociate our spirit from our mind and our body, and distract ourselves from the fact that it's not in alignment. Because when you sit down and try to just be with yourself, when those three things are not in alignment, it's going to be so uncomfortable. And this is because we have something else on the throne of our consciousness, and that's the society, right? That's whatever society has told us who we should be, how we should live, and what we should do. And we know in our heart of hearts that we are here for something greater, but we may not have the awareness, the consciousness, or even the courage to live that and pursue that. And so one of, I think inner peace can be accessed, different ways, is different for everyone, right? But I think one of the main ways to access that inner peace and quell a little bit of that inner tension is to live by what our purpose is and what our spiritual contract is. And that is, what did we say we were gonna do before we were born? What gifts did we say we were going to implement, we were going to share with the world before we were born? And when I say gifts and I say purpose, I don't mean something that's going to make us famous, so the whole world has to know and applaud it. It doesn't mean that it's going to make us rich or beautiful, or that we'll win the Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, right? That's not what I mean, right? Because that's looking at purpose. And all those things are great, right? And that can actually come as a result, right? But not every purpose or gift is set up that way to be out in the public, right? To give you these accolades and these boxes to check off, right? It's not necessarily going to make you rich or famous, right? That's looking at purpose through, again, the societal contract lens, from, dare I say, a capitalistic lens, right? That is, and you don't want to look at purpose that way, because everyone's purpose is different, and no one purpose and gift is more important than someone else's, just because this person's purpose and gift has them speaking on a world stage, and this person's purpose and gifts are implemented in their home with their children, and they raise great children, right? Society is gonna praise one more than the other, or give one more accolades than the other. That's society. Don't worry about that, right? Each gift and purpose is equal, right? And we're here to implement. If we're here to implement it, we're here to give it away before we pass, right? And we're here to do it. And one way to stop yourself from doing it is to attach these sort of parameters to it. Don't attach anything to it. It is what it is, right? And love that's what gives you fulfillment, that those three entities, spirit, mind, and body, being aligned is what helps others and helps you, right? And if everyone were to try to live life a little more like that, in that way, I believe we would have more peace on earth. I would believe we would have, it would manifest out in the world as there will be less unnecessary conflict and unnecessary things that we see that cause havoc in the world, because people will be more at peace with themselves. Okay, so how is the mind hijacked, right? Yeah, so I mentioned the societal programming via the media, via social media, via television, movies, education, religion, right? What else I said? Right? I mean, the list goes on. So what's used is imagery, emotional responses are definitely leveraged. Like, these things tap onto your emotional body like nobody's business, right? And so emotions are manipulated via this imagery, sound, storytelling, via fear. Fear is a real one, a real emotion that a lot of people have. Fear of different things, and those fears of those different fears that human beings have, they are manipulated in order to cause us to think a certain way, which then informs our actions and our behaviors, and kind of helps us, helps for the system to have us be cattle prodded in this direction, in that direction, in that direction. You know, people would say it's easier to control a society that way if more people think the same way, or the way that this system wants them to think, the way that's conducive to the system. And so part of one act of rebellion is to guard your mind, because there is a real psychological warfare is real. There is a real effort to access your mind. Like, don't take it lightly. Once someone has access to your mind, they have control of you. Especially if they're very effective at it. And all the programming mechanisms that I mentioned are very effective at it. And you want to be the person who is controlling your mind. You want your spirit to be what is controlling your mind. You don't want outside entities controlling your mind, because then you just end up being a robot, right? That's why there's all those zombie movies. We're all afraid of the zombies, and we're all afraid of the zombies, but I think the reason we're afraid of the zombies is we're afraid of being or becoming zombies. So don't be a zombie. Guard your mind, right? Do regular social media fasts, right? And have boundaries and how often you use it, how often you consume media, the type of media you consume, and then do an inventory, because most of us are adults, so we've gone through some level of schooling. Do an inventory, schooling and life and culture. Do an inventory of the kind of beliefs that you have that you feel may no longer serve you, right? And there are ways to change and shift your beliefs and uproot beliefs that don't work for you in your path, right? This is a rebellious act, because the way that the system controls society is through these sort of nebulous kind of belief systems and things that are in the atmosphere, and they cause us to implement certain behavior, right? That is beneficial to them, but not to us and not to our lives. And so it is a rebellious act to take charge of your mind, to align with your spirit, right? And that can look so many different ways for different people, but you are your spirit. So it's not something outside of you, just connecting with you. That can look so many different ways, but it's connecting with you and your power. And finding and aligning with and implementing your purpose. It's a rebellious act, because I guarantee you, I will tell you, okay, that this system does not want you to do that, because it's difficult to control a population of people who live that way. Very difficult. That's why there are billions of dollars spent and so much time and effort spent to try to cause you to think a certain way. And you notice as each generation comes, billions of dollars are spent to try to indoctrinate that generation, right? Through music, through media, through this, through that, okay? Through education, right? Education is a good thing. I'm talking about mainstream education. the kinds of educational systems that exist here, you know, in this mainstream society. Okay, so start to think about it. How do you guard access to your mind? How do you begin to take back control of your mind? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. What are some things you've done this year to, or previous to take control of your mind? What do you plan to do ongoing? How do you notice that society has programs and indoctrinates its people? And what do you think about that? Let's hear your thoughts. So have a great one. Thank you for your time and your blessings. We'll chat soon.